Good morning, guys. Happy Saturday. It is very early. Well, not really that early. It's 9:30 in the morning here on Saturday here in Massachusetts. I know a lot of people from all different parts of the area, so if you guys are already halfway done with your Saturday, I'm sorry. But if you guys are just getting started on your Saturday, some of you are probably just waking up, one eye open. You're like, I gotta listen to this Boston accent at this early in the morning. Sorry. Not sorry. But no, hopefully you guys are doing well, and hopefully you guys are already enjoying your new year, and all of you guys have already spoiled your New Year resolutions. We're talking now a little bit about Scott Peterson. Why? We did start talking about it on Monday and Tuesday. We put him on the back burner to get some more information, and now we're starting to talk about him again. There's a lot of reasons why I want to talk about this, and as we get more and more people onto this live, I'm going to be very clear about why we're discussing him. But right now, the LA Innocence Project is involved. They've been involved since 2024. They put out information back in April of 2025 saying that there's some clear evidence that was overlooked, maybe evidence that was messed and tampered with, obstructed with, we don't know. But that was filed back in April of 2025. Again, we don't know what's going to happen next. It doesn't mean he's going to get a new trial. Doesn't mean he's going to be, the conviction is going to be overturned. It doesn't mean that. All it means is that they were able to find some information. Hey, Kayla. They found more information and new information that needs to be looked at. Now, the one thing I ask on a Saturday morning, because I know it's Saturday, people got things to do, they got things going on, just tap that screen, share it out. If you don't want to stay and hang out for a bit, you don't have to, but just share it out and tap the screen for a few seconds, press that little follow button, and we're just going to keep going. So let's go into this. Let's do a brief recap if you guys don't know much about this case. Okay, this is back in like 2002, 2003, 2004. Now, his wife, Lacey Peterson, if you don't know who I'm talking about, hey, Robin, if you don't know who I mean, Lacey, holla back, what's up? Lacey and Scott Peterson. This was a huge case back in the early 2000s. The reason I took on this case is because it was shortly after the Jonbenet Ramsey case. A lot of new information started to come out in the early 2000s because of technology. So that's why I wanted to take this on. Now, Diva Yvette's cool. Now I don't even know which one's the first name, but how you doing, Diva? So let's go into this. Back in 2002, December 24th, 2002, she was reported last seen and or missing. December 24th, 2002 was obviously Christmas Eve, and she was reported as missing from Scott. Now, one thing I want to say, there's almost 1,000 of you on, well, about 800 of you on. I am not defending him. If you guys are new to me, I'm prior law enforcement, so what I do is help you guys think outside the box. I help you guys think through the legal lens. I'm not saying this man is innocent, you guys are messing up. No. I'm just helping you guys think in the lines of the law, the mental state of the law. That's all I'm doing. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here, because a lot of people say you're defending him. I'm not defending him. Stop criminal minds. I am just giving you guys the information based on the facts of the case and the law and the eyes of the law. That's all I want to say. Now, let's go into this. So in December 24th, 2002, he goes fishing. He did say at one point that he didn't go fishing. He said that he went golfing. Ended up he went fishing, or he went to the marina. Now, he comes back. He just said, well, I thought that Lacey was just with her friends or with her family. I didn't think anything of it because if you guys remember, they didn't really, it wasn't like you wouldn't text. There was no texting back then. So you wouldn't say, hey, babe, with such and such. There was no texting back then. So they had different style cell phones back then. So anyways, they weren't texting. So he was like, all right, she didn't come home. She's probably with her friends, probably with her family, whatever. Then towards the end of the day, he goes, she's not coming home. He starts making phone calls, and then he reports her missing. Now, they don't end up finding her for months later. Oh, I know there was texting, but it wasn't like texting like it was today, is what I mean. I think it was probably on an old Nokia phone. We had to press the number a few times to get the letter you want. If you wanted to say, I love you, you had to press GHI space JKL. That's what I meant. I would sit there and be like, oh my God, it was ridiculous. Anyways, moving forward, moving on. So anyways, he made phone calls and goes, I don't know where she is, she's missing. Well, they end up doing their own reporting and their own investigations. They look at some stuff and they start to realize something's not adding up with Scott Peterson. Number one, why did he go fishing on Christmas Eve? What about this boat? Did anybody know about this boat? According to the prosecution, nobody knew about this boat, just Scott knew about it. He built those or created those cement block structure things. All these things that just didn't line up and just didn't add up. Then about 4 months later, it was around, I want to say it was April of 2003, guys, keep me honest on that. a torso washes up on shore and also a fetus. Now, if you guys didn't know, Lacey was 8 months pregnant at the time. So that would be the torso. And then the fetus ended up being Connor, which was the unborn child at that point. But I'm pretty sure it was April of 2003. If you guys want to check that and just let me know. But anyways, that's what washed up. But her bottom half didn't wash up. Just the top half, just the torso in the fetus. And it washed up around the area that he was fishing, allegedly. Well, as time went on, he started to do some weird stuff. He was still being an advocate for Lacey, but he was doing some weird stuff, like some really, really weird things. For example, he dyed his hair. Okay, he dyed his hair. It was like that yellowish orange color. Terrible dye. Maybe he went into the pool. I don't know. But either way, he dyed his hair. And then he got a firearm. Then he had IDs, one of which belonging to his brother. He had, I think, about $15,000. Yeah, Liz, they were separate. About $15,000 in cash. He was also eventually arrested close to where? Where was he arrested, guys? Close to what? Where was he when he was arrested? Close to what country? Do you guys know? Let's see if you guys are listening and paying attention to me. I'm not just here for the Boston accent. Where was he? That's right, Danielle. Thank you, Danielle. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good New Year. Or Christmas Eve into New Year. You're right, guys. Mexico. He was found near Mexico. Now, I have an inside connection. I used to be a corrections officer, so I still have some corrections connections. Couldn't say that more than once in a row. And they said, I brought this up on a couple of my lives, that one of the COs that I'm still friendly with mentioned that when they were looking at and watching Scott Peterson, that Scott Peterson said that he was only going to Mexico because he felt that he was in fear for his life. He was nervous, and he knew that if he had to look for Lacey still, he had to do it in Mexico where he wouldn't be prosecuted or attacked. Listen, I don't know. Okay, that's just what I was told. It doesn't matter. Thanks, Steve Yvette. It doesn't matter what he said. All I'm saying, that's just what I was told. It is what it is. It doesn't really hold much weight and validity. Doesn't really matter. Yes, I actually know about Derek. Yes. Now, he's been in jail. So you guys know the trial took I think 4 months, maybe a little longer. It took 4 months. They went through the entire trial. He ends up getting convicted, and he was put on unaliving row. It's the only way we can say it here on TikTok. But he was put on unaliving row. However, back in 2021, if I'm not mistaken, they actually removed the DP from his file, the unaliving row. They removed it and gave him 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole. He got charge 1 for Lacey, and he got charge 2 for Connor, because Connor technically was not born yet. So they ended up removing it back in 2021, so he, would not get the unaliving penalty. Now, that's the big information. Now, I'm going to go into some of the specifics that a lot of you guys get mad at me about. So I want to be completely clear and transparent. The information I'm giving you guys, or I'm about to give you guys now, is based on the facts of the case. This is not me saying he's innocent. This is not me saying I hope he gets out of jail. This is not me saying this is Lacey's unaliver. That is not me saying this. What I'm giving you is the actual facts of the case that you guys can look up on your own. Just to be very clear, okay? That's what I do. Now, the LA Innocence Project came forward back in 2021 and started looking at this case. They are not the big Innocence Project. They are the LA faction. Think of like organized crime. They have it all over the country, but they have individual chapters and factions. Same thing. It's an individual chapter or faction. So the LA Innocence Project now took this over in 2021. What does the Innocence Project do? Well, they look at the facts of the case. What's up, Sweet Pea? They look at the facts of the case, and they try to see if somebody was wrongfully convicted. That's what they do. And they try to see if it should be overturned. Honestly, guys, they don't get everyone gets overturned. Most of the time, they end up just getting stuck with their original sentence because they found out that it was done properly. The Innocence Project took over back in 2021, and they found out a lot of key information. Here's one of them. They found out that a juror lied on their juror form. Apparently, the juror was asked something about, are you involved or were you ever involved in DV, domestic, you know what? Or is there an open DV case right now? And she said no. However, they found out that she was dishonest, and she was involved in a DV case that was open. She had an open harassment case against her then boyfriend's ex-girlfriend. Now, moving through that, The judge in 2021 said that is not enough for a retrial or overturning a conviction. So I want to be very clear. The judge said very clear as day, that is not enough to overturn a conviction and or give this man a new trial. This was back in 2021. This is my way of telling you guys, I'm not trying to advocate for this man, but I'm only giving you the facts that you guys can look up as well. That's all I'm doing. Now, the Innocence Project brought up even more information, like one of the cops left out information in the trial that was given to him by one of the witnesses. Do you guys remember that? Did you guys know that one of the detectives left out information on purpose and admitted it under oath, left it out in the trial? How many of you guys knew that? If there's a lot of new people on, so if you guys didn't know, just the quicker you guys respond, the better. I'm very interactive. How many of you guys knew that a cop left out information on purpose and under oath, admitted that during the trial? Okay, the lead detective's name is Alan Brocchini. Okay, he's a paisan. Okay, so anyways, Alan Brocchini, he was the lead detective. You'll also see him in the documentaries, in all the documentaries of Scott Peterson. He left out key information, which was there was a woman that he asked questions to. She was a witness that said she saw Scott Peterson and Lacey Peterson December 23rd at the marina. She said, and I quote, "I saw Scott, I've seen him there before, and I saw him with a brunette woman that appeared pregnant and used the bathroom. Looked like Lacey, the same woman that she saw him with before. Amber Fry was blonde, so it wasn't Amber." So the problem was Alan Brocchini left that out of his information, out of his police report. Now, I may have said marina. I'm sorry. I meant warehouse. I stand corrected. I'm sorry. She saw her using the restroom at the warehouse. My apologies. Now, Alan Brocchini, under oath, was questioned by Scott Peterson's attorney. And he said, "Why did you excise that information?" He goes, "I did." And he said, "Okay, why?" He goes, "I don't know. I guess I did." Now, I did a little bit of digging. Turns out Alan Brocchini, in the later testimony, this is probably what you guys want to hear now. Later on in testimony, he said it during the cross-examination, or recross, excuse me. He said to the prosecution, "I left it out because one of my partners already had it in their report." Well, guys, being prior law enforcement, okay, you don't leave stuff out and hoping your partner puts it in there. You don't do that. Okay, if you had a conversation with somebody and they said XYZ, you need to put in your police report XYZ. That is how it works. You do not hang back and say, "Oh, I'm hoping Mike puts it in there. I hope Lisa puts it in there." No, you have to have it in your report at all times. Do you guys agree with that statement? There's 1,900 of you. Do you guys agree with that statement? No matter what, you have to leave it in your report. You cannot rely on another officer to put it in their report to exonerate you, so to speak. Do you guys all agree you must put it in your report regardless? 100%, right? He didn't put it in there. He left it out. And under oath, and this is in court transcripts, guys, in transcripts, he clearly said, "I excised it," meaning I left it out. So that was done purposely. So this has been taken over by the Innocence Project out of LA. That's one piece of evidence. How many of you guys saw my new video I just posted today? I'm wearing this exact outfit. How many of you guys saw that video? I just posted it right before this live. How many of you guys saw it? How many of you guys saw it? And if you guys are brand new to me, and it's okay if you haven't seen it, you can see it after the live is over. If you guys are brand new to me, I know a lot of you have heard this before. Welcome in. Welcome. If you guys are from the FYP, thank you guys so much. I'm prior law enforcement, so you get a lot of information just directly from my experience. I also show you guys receipts so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. I don't just blow smoke. So if that's the kind of creator you guys like, press that little follow button. It's right up here, and I'll answer any law enforcement questions you guys have. And this 100% is I'm from Boston. I think someone just said I'm from Boston. Yeah, 100%. You can't even fake this accent. It's ridiculous, especially when I'm cold. It like comes out. Anyways. But yes, again, 1,900 of you guys really, really want your support. If you guys don't mind on a Saturday morning, press that little plus button right up here. I'm not just smart, guys. I'm wicked smart. Don't ask me to park the car in Harvard Yard. We don't actually talk like that, even though I sound like that. Let's just move on. So the video that I posted this morning had to do with another bit of evidence, guys, that was brought up during the Innocence Project. Now, are you guys aware again of Manor is close to Boston, kind of, not really, but it's northeast. Are you guys aware of what the Innocence Project does? Whether it's LA Innocence Project or what? Are you guys aware of what the Innocence Project does or is? Just by like yes or no. Because some people do. I like Trisha Lynn, you said kind of. That's okay. I love when people say no because I love to be able to educate you guys on things. I'm going to keep it very simple. All they do is they get the information that is granted to them by a judge. They don't just go in and grab it. They get it from the judge, and they want to make sure that the convictions are rightful convictions, not wrongful convictions. So they look into the evidence and they start going through it. And when they go through that evidence, they want to see, hey, this person was wrongfully accused. This person was not wrongfully accused. Also, they do things with integrity. Guys, I want to be very clear. They do things with integrity. Meaning, if they are lying, like let's say Scott's lying and all the evidence proves it's him, they will back off and say, no, we find that this conviction is right. It's valid, it's right. So they do their due diligence, guys. They do the right thing. I just want to be very, very clear. They do the right thing. Now, here's the video that I posted. How many of you guys heard about the hair that was found in the pliers on Scott Peterson's boat? How many of you guys have heard about the hair found in the pliers in Scott Peterson's boat? How many of you guys heard of that? Okay, if you didn't know, yes, they found a hair that was in Scott Peterson's boat. Now, here's the thing. Appreciate you, Amy Mozzarella. Mozzarella, actually, there's two Z's, so I want to say it's mozzarella. Let me know if I said your last name. I'm Italian, so hopefully I'm saying it right. So again, they found a hair hair strand in the pliers. Now, they found a single hair strand. A single hair strand. Okay? That was in the evidence. Do you guys want to see the evidence photo real quick? It's a single hair strand. Do you guys want to see the evidence photo? I just like to wait for responses. All right, let me show you guys the hair strand, and I'm going to go over the DNA side of it. But here's the hair strand. Hopefully it looks good on... There it is. Okay. So just so you guys know, this is the picture. Okay? Just for reference, guys, this is the picture. That's the blown up picture. Okay? So again, here's the picture. That's the blown up picture. Here is the one single strand of hair. You could see it going this way. Now, do you see this little thing in the middle? Guys, do you guys see this little thing in the middle here? You guys see that? See that little thing? That is this. That's what that is. It's like a needle and thread. They used it to keep the hair in there and keep it secure. That's all that is. So just want to be very clear. This piece that you see right here, it's this. Okay? That's why I said, guys, I try to show you guys as many receipts as I can. One single strand of hair. Okay? Now, it was also brought up, do you guys know what discovery is? My mods are great. They'll jump on people before anybody else. But either way, don't worry about the dog. He's just being a Belgian Malinois. Anyways, do you guys know what discovery is? To keep it simple, discovery, for everyone that said no, discovery is when you give all of your available information for trial to the opposing sides. That's how you get a fair trial. That's at least how they try to provide a fair trial. So if you have all kinds of evidence, you have to give it to the opposing side. They have to have an opportunity to look through it. That is discovery. Now, during discovery, that single piece of hair was in that yellow envelope that I just showed you guys and given, yes, both sides asked for discovery. Yes, both sides will always get the discovery. Oh my God, you're right. That's the wrong picture. Sorry. I was wondering why this looks so weird. I'm sorry, guys. By the way, guys, say hi to Scott Peterson. Or don't say hi to Scott Peterson. Whatever you guys feel comfortable doing. Anyways, I'm sorry, my bad. Can we move on? It's Saturday. My dog got me all screwed up. Anyways, discovery. Sorry about that. See, guys, I'm normal. I'm human. I make mistakes. I'm an Italian guy from Boston. I make mistakes. I don't tell people I make mistakes, but I make them. Moving forward. So that was discovery. So evidence was given to the defense team, and it was one. Thanks, Liz. It was one strand of hair. That's it. One strand of hair. It's the same piece of evidence that I just showed you. Again, to make sure you guys see it, and I promise I'll make sure I put the right picture up. One single strand of hair. Here it is right here. Here is the one single strand of hair. Right there. Now, let me go back. Let me click on Scott Peterson's face, not Jonbenet or my freaking daughter, because I've done that in the past too. Either way. Well, did you guys also know that during the trial, they actually showed 2 strands of hair. Guys, like how I brought it down to the David Allen Boucher Magic 106.7 voice. During trial, they pulled that envelope out, or they opened that envelope and they pulled out 2 strands of hair. 2. Now, I want to be very clear again because I know there's a lot of new people on here. I am not defending this man. I am talking about the facts of the case. This has been brought up by the Innocence Project. So that's what I'm talking about. The 2nd strand of hair was brought up during trial. If you guys go back and watch the trial court, the court transcripts and watch the actual trial, you can find it on YouTube, you'll see, and they talked about 2 strands of hair. Now, you guys want to see a quick article confirming this? Do you guys want to see a quick article confirming the 2nd strand of hair? Yes, Melissa, I'm going to go into if it's Lacey's hair or not. I'm going to go into that. But here's the article. And I want to be also very, very clear too. This is an article from CBS back when the trial was going on. You guys can find this on your own. But again, it is in the court documents. It is in the court transcript. So you guys will be able to see it. Okay, so just know I'm not just making this crap up. So right here, we'll keep it simple. Defense lawyers have also previously attacked the way police collected the hairs from the pliers. Detectives testified that they took 1 hair from the pliers, but months later discovered 2 strands inside the evidence envelope. 2 strands. Where did that second strand come from? Does anybody know? None of us know. But how come only 1 was put into the evidence, but 2 of them were brought up during court? Why? Now, a lot of you are probably wondering, okay, where did they get this evidence? Where did they get the hair? How did they know it was Lacey's? Do you guys want me to explain that? Do you guys want me to explain how they got the hair and how they were able to confirm at least it was Lacey's? Okay, I'm going to keep it very simple. They did not know it was Lacey's 100%, and I'm going to explain why. I'm going to say that one more time. They did not know if it was Lacey's 100%. Okay, do you guys want me to explain why? And I know some of you might get mad at me, but again, this is public knowledge. This is public knowledge. So since this is public knowledge, you guys can look this stuff up too. But they weren't completely sure if it was Lacey's. I'm going to tell you why. When they found that hair on the pliers, they took the hair and they didn't have anything to test it against. So they went to the house and they had hair in her hairbrush and they took it out. And that is called mitochondrial DNA, which means they typically use the DNA from that, not directly from the person, but it's directly, it doesn't have a root, is what I'm saying. Mitochondrial DNA means that, like, if we're talking about a hair follicle, there's no root on it. So they can't directly tie it to Lacey. Does that make sense? They can't technically put that directly on Lacey. What they'll do is be like, yes, you know, for the most part, 99 times out of 100, it's got to be her. It's kind of the layman's way of explaining it. But if there's no root, they can't tie that piece of hair directly to Lacey. That is mitochondrial DNA, okay? That is the DNA that they had when it came down to that hair, okay? You need to have it attached to that root or be at least close to it so they can attach it to the person. If not, they don't have enough evidence there. Now, just to be completely clear, they tied it to Lacey and obviously he was convicted. But that's the truth. It's mitochondrial DNA. That's what they have. Now, we're still talking about the Innocence Project right now. So now there's more information that I haven't told you. I'll go into that in just 1 second, guys. I want to thank you guys so far for the taps, the shares. We're around almost 30 shares. I think you guys can do a little bit better than that. I think you guys do a little bit better on those taps. But there's 1,800 of you. We need a little bit more support on the channel. Lacey can't speak for herself, guys. That's why I'm doing it. And I know there's other people talking about it too. But I'm doing it right now. So there's 1,800 of you. Guys got to press that follow button right above the squash. This is the squash. And none of you have ever asked me why I always say squash, by the way. But anyways, if you're brand new to my channel, I'm prior law enforcement. I make sure to show my receipts and you get all the information based from a legal lens. I am not, if you want to share, you press that little arrow button. I am not defending anybody. I'm just bringing up the information from the Innocence Project that you guys can know it's all public knowledge. It's all public knowledge. So you guys can look this stuff up as well. But again, there's 1,800 of you. Press that little follow button right above my squash, right above here. Real quick, what is a squash? When I was growing up, when I was in high school, I should say, I was very close with my Spanish teacher. He used to always say, use your squash. Good guy. He passed away a few years ago. He was like a father figure to me. Great dude. But I always said squash. It was always kind of like an ode to him. So anyways, that's why I always said it. So I'm like one of those like emotional type dudes. So like I attach to things. It's crazy. You know, like I've had this mug for like 14 years. I won't get rid of it because I like, my grandmother was at the house that I got this mug from, and she passed away years ago, and I never got rid of it. Like, I'm just one of those people. Anyways, let's go back to the Innocence Project. There's another bit of information, guys, that not a lot of people know about. Like, when was the break-in of the neighbor's house? Do you guys know? Do you believe he's innocent? Personally, no. When was the break-in, guys, at the neighbor's house? I love the responses. December 24th. Actually, you're wrong. You're wrong. According to the Innocence Project and statements made by witnesses and neighbors, it was actually December 26th. I'm going to say it again. According to the Innocence Project and neighbors and witnesses on site, it was actually December 26th. However, in the courtroom, they said it was December 24th. So I want to be clear again. They said in the courtroom it was December 24th. Feel free to watch the court transcripts or read them. It said December 24th. The actual robbery took place on December 26th, 2 days after. Now, you're probably thinking, what is the point? What is the point? Well, do you guys know that witnesses and neighbors gave this information to police? I'm going to ask that question again. Did you guys know that witnesses and or neighbors gave that information to the police? Did you guys know that? That witnesses made statements, and you can't call them testimony, but made statements and gave it to police. Well, according to the Innocence Project, the police never used those statements. They never used them. Now, again, I want to be very clear. I feel like I have to say this every 9.5 seconds. I'm not defending this guy. But these are the facts of the case. Through the Innocence Project and doing their own research and their own digging and speaking to some of these people, they were never brought up in the case. They were never documented by police. Police left that information out. Do you guys know how damning that is? Now, listen, I've already said this before. I don't believe this guy's innocent. I really don't. I really don't believe he's innocent. That's just my own opinion. I don't believe he's innocent. But the police got to do their damn job, and you got to do it right. So let's back up. I am prior law enforcement. I'm going to give you guys a basic law enforcement 101 procedural statement. Are you guys ready? I'm going to give you a real quick procedural 101 police statement. You ready for this? It's very simple. Document everything as if it's going to court. That's what my superiors used to always say. Not just to me, but to everybody. Document as if it's going to court. If you leave something out, it never happened. I want to say it again. If you leave it out, it never happened. That's how they look at it. You can't say, oh, I forgot to put in, yes, this happened. They'll say, no, if it's not written, it didn't happen. That is how we were trained. Okay, maybe, yeah, Lindsay, you said same in healthcare. Yeah, like if there's any healthcare issues, medical issues, you document it. If you don't document it, it didn't happen. When you do document it, you document it as if it's going to court, which means you put a lot of detail in it. The point I'm trying to make is if they left that out, it's as if it never happened. But according to the Innocence Project out of LA, they spoke to those individuals. And those individuals said, yes, there was a white van. The burglary was on December 26th. It wasn't December 24th. But they brought up that it was December 24th in the court proceedings. That's a serious problem. And someone just said something earlier, and it was about 3 minutes ago. I'm sorry. I did see it, and I wanted to call it out. Yeah, see, Kristen, you understand. They said that if you look on Google, which I'd never done, but if you look on Google, they say that the burglary was between the 24th and the 26th. The fact that they don't have a direct date when it should be logged with police is very, very interesting to me. It should be logged by police. Either way. Now, So the burglary happens after she goes missing. Again, just bringing up what the Innocence Project has brought up. Now, here's the last key piece of information. You guys ready for the big one? You guys ready for the biggest piece of information that the Innocence Project out of LA has brought up to a judge in April of 2025? And just to be very clear, there's been no response on this yet. No convictions have been overturned. No new trial has been brought up. Nothing. Just want to be very clear. Nothing. But according to the Innocence Project, there's one more thing that was brought up that was never brought up in court. You guys ready? They did investigate the burglary, yes, but they did not date it. That's the problem. Is it Boredom 362? They did not date it, and that's the issue. Now, here it is. Here's the big piece of information. Hopefully you guys are listening to me here. Here's the big information. On the date that was given during the actual trial, they said that Lacey's torso and the fetus of Connor, God rest their soul, was found where Scott was fishing. That wasn't true. Where Scott said he was fishing originally, from the very beginning, remember, it's just words, right? It was actually 2 hours away from where Scott was fishing. 2 hours away. It was not where Scott was fishing. And the Innocence Project is working on that as well. That's the biggest thing. Because in court, they said her body or torso was found in the exact location that Scott was fishing. Turns out that wasn't true. It was about 2 hours away. Now, I want to say something transparently. Yes, I know tides are involved. I do. I know tides are involved. Bodies can move. The point is, in court, they said, on court transcript, feel free to read it, that her body was found where Scott was fishing, and that's actually not true. It was found 2 hours north of where Scott was fishing. That's the problem. It wasn't an accurate description. It wasn't accurate. So I feel like I have to say this again. I am not defending this guy at all. But these are the facts of the case provided by the Innocence Project. Not me. Okay? Not Laugh and Grind. That's not by me. It is by the Innocence Project. All I'm doing is giving you guys information about the Innocence Project and what they've discovered and what they've found. Now, these are the facts. We don't have to like them. But these are the facts. I've already said it multiple times. I don't think this man's innocent. I really don't. I really, truly don't think this man's innocent. But these are the facts of the case. And this is according to the Innocence Project of LA. Please don't yell at me, but it's true. Now, before I go into the next segment talking about Amber Fry, whatever her name is, real quick, we've doubled the likes and the taps on the screen, which I greatly, greatly appreciate it, where we quadrupled the shares, which is awesome, guys. Keep tapping that screen. There's 1,600 of you. Not all of you guys are following. Just a few of you are. Press that little follow button right above my head. It's right above that squash, right where this ugly mug is, right up here. I think I'm better looking, but whatever. Press that little follow button. It's the only way we can be the voice for the voiceless. Because we're not just talking about Scott Peterson. We're also talking about Jonbenet. Jonbenet Ramsey. We're talking about Amy Bradley. We're talking about Karen Reed. We are talking about a lot of different cases. And the only way we're going to be able to keep doing that is if you guys show that support. Because, yeah, we talk to some of these families. We talk to some of these investigators. When I say we, I'm talking about my platform as a whole. Because I never say my platform. I never say these are my followers. I say we have reached this. Because I think of you guys of all like friends. So that's how I consider you guys. But again, understand this. I'm only giving you guys the facts of the case. I never give a legitimate opinion, even though I did say my opinion is he's guilty, whatever. I just felt like you guys needed to hear that. But still, just want to make sure you guys heard that. Now, here we go. Here's the next big thing. Amy, you're spreading BS. You're funny, because I don't think a single person on here thinks I'm spreading BS. But whatever. Thanks for helping my algorithm and commenting. I love that for us. This coffee is turning into iced coffee real quick. Anyways, guys, thanks for all those taps, more shares, and those followers. Greatly appreciate it. I try not to block people because, number one, I don't want to silence people. And number two, it helps the algorithm. I mean, it is what it is. It helps the algorithm, you know. And plus, I don't feel like I have I shouldn't be silencing people. That's just their opinion. It is what it is. Now, you're good, Bella. Have a good day. Now, here's the next thing I want to go into. How many of you guys know that Amber, Frey, whatever? How many of you guys knew that Amber thought he was single? How many of you guys knew that? I can give you a recap. Yes, I will give you guys a recap. JJ, appreciate you. How many of you guys knew that Amber Frey thought he was single? Yeah. So I actually believe that. I do. I think Amber thought, thought he was legitimately single. I do. And when he said, oh no, my wife is gone. Remember he said she was gone? I look at that in two different ways. I look at that as one, he needed to make Amber believe him. So he's going to say whatever the hell he wanted to say just for her to believe him. And the other thing is, I think there was some premeditation mentally. If he said it out loud, to just try to think just try to think of hey, what would life be if Lacey wasn't around? So I think it's a little bit of both. I'm not saying that it was one or the other, but I think it was a little bit of both. One, he was premeditating it in his brain to see how he could deal with it. And I also think that it was just, he had to say what he had to say to make her believe him, But again, we don't really know because we don't talk to him. But Amber also helped authorities. Amber was extremely helpful. If I'm not mistaken, she wore a wire or recorded phone calls of Scott. As soon as she found out that Scott was linked to this case, or to Lacey and Connor, she immediately started helping authorities. You guys know that, right? She immediately started helping authorities. She didn't say, well, I don't know, and was a little bit distant. She immediately helped authorities. So I believe wholeheartedly, she had no idea this man was married with a kid on the way. I really don't. I think the way she responded, she's like, I want to help you guys get him then. That's just my opinion, but I think based off my law enforcement experience, seeing how cooperative she was, it showed me she didn't know that he was married. She didn't know. Now, yeah, Chris Watt's girlfriend, I think her name was Nicole. That's a completely different conversation. We'll go to that in a different day. Now, here's another big thing. How many of you guys believe, let me ask you this. How many of you guys, I know there's a lot of new people on here. How many of you guys are new today? Just found this stupid Boston accent today on a Saturday. Yeah, Saturday, okay? There's no R in there, okay? It's a Saturday, okay? Perfect. If you guys are brand new, I've said this a few times, I apologize for sounding repetitive. I'm prior law enforcement, so I give you guys the law enforcement responses based on the facts of the case that you guys can look up as well. That's all I'm doing. I'm not defending anybody. It's just based on the facts of the case. Again, if you guys are new and that's the kind of creator you guys like to listen to, press that follow button because it's really important. Don't just listen. You got to listen and follow. It's really, really important. That's how we gain that momentum, and that's how we can be the voice for these voiceless situations. So please, guys, press that follow button. It's right up here. You can join my fan club as well, as you see, whatever you guys want, but just do that. It takes 2 seconds. It's right up there. Now, so I appreciate all those new follows and the taps. You guys are phenomenal, guys. Thank you so much. Now, let's go into this. How many of you guys know the difference between circumstantial evidence and direct evidence? I know this sounds repetitive, but there's a lot of new people. How many of you guys know the difference between circumstantial evidence and direct evidence? And it's okay if you don't. I'm excited when you don't because I get to teach you some stuff. Okay. Melissa, I know you always forget. Trust me. Now, I'll keep it very simple. Direct evidence means that you can direct that evidence directly to the suspect, directly to the scene. Okay? So you can take a suspect and directly connect them to the scene, no problem. Circumstantial, you can't do it. Here's my best analogy. I saw Mike drive his car into the tree. My information is direct evidence. I saw Mike drive his car into the tree. Circumstantial evidence would be, I saw Mike in the car, but then I went into the house and I heard a bang. I came out and I saw him in the tree. I don't know if he hit the tree or if someone pushed him into a tree, but I saw him hit the tree. Well, no, you didn't. You went into the house. So you didn't see it. That would be circumstantial. Someone else would have to corroborate that story and say, yes, I saw him drive into the tree. So that would be direct evidence ultimately. Now, in this situation, we have to be able to connect Scott Peterson to the actual event of Lacey. So let's back up. How many of you guys believe O.J. Simpson is guilty? Yes, we are completely changing it real quick. How many of you guys believe O.J. is guilty? How many of you guys believe that? How many of you guys believe OJ is guilty? Yeah, 100%, right? Now let me ask you another question. Was he linked physically at the scene? Physically, not by a glove. Physically, was he linked to the scene? Physically. His body, was it linked to the scene? The answer is no. What happened? Not guilty. We all know OJ was guilty as sin. Damn, guilty as sin. But if you can't link him to the scene, 9 times out of 10, not guilty. Not saying I agree, but that's the truth. Here's the next one. How many of you guys believe Casey Anthony was found not guilty? Well, you already know that. How many of you guys know about the Casey Anthony trial and she was found not guilty? We'll go into that. We'll go into the civil stuff. How many of you guys knew that Casey Anthony was found not guilty as well? How many of you guys knew that? She was found not guilty. I know you guys saying she's guilty, but I'm saying found not guilty by a jury. How many of you guys knew she was found not guilty by a jury? Well, unfortunately, they could not place her at the scene. So again, not guilty. We all knew that girl was guilty, right? We all did. Okay, we all did. Even when I was younger, when I was watching that case, I'm like, that girl's guilty. But they couldn't put her at the scene. Not guilty. Now, I'm not saying she's not guilty. I'm just saying that was what the jury came back with. Not guilty. Couldn't place her at the scene. Now, real quick before we go back to Scott, a lot of people are talking about he was found guilty. No, he wasn't. O.J. Simpson was only found liable in civil court. There's no such thing as guilt or not guilty in civil court. It's liable or not liable. Civil court has a lower burden of proof, a lot easier to be found liable in civil versus criminal. Okay? Just so you guys know the difference there. So in criminal court, O.J. was found not guilty. They couldn't place him at the scene. Casey Anthony was found out not guilty because they couldn't place her at the scene. So my question to you guys is, do we have evidence? Now remember, I'm not defending this guy. I'm only talking about the legal standpoint here. So here's my question, guys. Do we have evidence and proof that he dumped her body? Do we have actual proof, which means somebody saw it, that he dumped the body? The answer is no, we don't. We just have OJ's gloves at the scene. We just have Kaylee Anthony, the daughter's hair in the trunk where she was found or placed. We just have Lacey's hair in a pair of pliers on the boat. Do you see how I'm trying to connect them all, guys? We only have circumstantial evidence, but he was found guilty. And that's okay, like whatever. I wasn't on the friggin' jury. It is what it is. But here's my point. He was found guilty. Only on circumstantial evidence. And that is why the Innocence Project is getting involved. The circumstantial evidence is getting involved. The Innocence Project of LA is getting involved because they feel that he was wrongfully, well, they're saying he's wrongfully accused. Whatever, I don't have to agree with that. Hey, Skulls, I don't have to agree with that because I don't think he was wrongfully confused. But that's just my own opinion. But he was convicted on circumstantial evidence. Let me ask you guys a question. I'm going to do a rapid fire questions to you guys. Just rapid fire questions. The quicker you guys respond, the quicker we're going to keep moving forward. Are you guys ready for my rapid fire questions? Remember, prior law enforcement. So I'm going to ask you guys some pretty specific questions. All you got to do is say yes or no. It's all you got to do is just say yes or no. Here it is. Is a cheater responsible for Lacey's unaliving? Is a cheater responsible for Lacey's unaliving? Meaning, if you're a cheater, you're responsible. The answer is no. You're just a cheater. You're not a murderer. Next question. Is a liar responsible for the unaliving of Lacey Peterson? Anybody? Any liar? Are they responsible for murder? A liar? The answer is no. Is a manipulator responsible for an unaliving or a murderer? If you're a manipulator, massive manipulator, are you responsible for that? No. You're just a friggin' POS, okay? You're just a scum of the earth. But that doesn't make you responsible for the unaliving of Lacey Peterson. However, you guys ready for the however? There's going to be a big however. So everyone that kind of disagrees, you'll agree with this. However, if you're a manipulator, if you're a narcissist, if you're a liar, if you're a cheater, if you're a smooth talker, and you put all that stuff together, it makes a pretty strong damn case that you're most likely responsible. So everyone that thinks that I'm defending this guy, you're probably all going to agree with that statement. You put all that stuff together, you're more than likely responsible. More than likely responsible. It's true. You're more than likely responsible at that point. It's true. The only thing that I have an issue with, guys, you guys want to know my biggest issue with this case, though? Hopefully everyone that's like, you're defending him, hopefully you guys that thought I was defending him are like, okay, I know what he's doing now. I know he's not defending him. He's just talking facts. Hopefully, did I at least clear that up with everyone that thinks I'm defending this guy? Did we at least clear it up with my last statement there? Yes, no, maybe so. Shut up with your Boston accent. I don't know. I think I did all right there. I think I put it together, okay? I think I did good. Case closed. You can't handle the truth. I always wanted to say that. Anyways, here's my next. You guys want to know my biggest problem with this case? Let's go back. I have a big problem with law enforcement in this case. I have a big problem with law enforcement in the OJ case. I have a big problem with law enforcement in the Casey Anthony case. I have big problems with law enforcement in the Amy Bradley case. I have big problems with law enforcement in the Ellen Greenberg case. I have a big problem with law enforcement in the Idaho 4 case. I have a big problem with law enforcement in the Karen Reed case. Are you guys seeing where I'm going with this? Christine, I don't know. No, Christine, did we used to chat before on my previous account, Christine NYPD? Just like, hi, how are yous? Maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, I'm sorry. Yes, okay, so if you didn't know, so I guess it's a good time for me to tell you. My last account was hacked. So Christine, I haven't seen you or chat with you since that last account was hacked. I don't have that account anymore. It was hacked, so unfollow there and please follow here. It was hacked in last August. So I love seeing some of the people that I used to talk to before because I was like, where are all these people? I'm here, and a lot of people had no idea. I put videos out, but yes, my last account was hacked, so please unfollow that account and follow this one. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And while we're at it, it's 1,400 of you. Just press the follow button too. It just makes us all feel better on a Saturday. Now, I have problems with law enforcement in all of these cases. A lot of problems. I do believe deep down, Scott is not innocent in this. I do believe that, in my own opinion, I do believe that Scott is not innocent in this. You guys ready for my big problem with law enforcement? And you guys know, I ask a lot of questions, but you guys want to know my big problem with law enforcement in this case and the ones that I just rifled off? No? Just going to tell me to F off without saying nothing? Cool. The issue is this. Law enforcement didn't do their jobs properly. That's the biggest problem. They didn't do their jobs properly. Alan Burkini should not be omitting information and excising information out of his report. If you're speaking to a person, to a potential witness, you put it in your report. If you have witnesses on the street saying, yes, there was a break-in, but it was on December 26th, not December 24th, you put that in your report. If there's one strand of hair and you put that in the evidence pile and you document it as a single single hair, you document it. If it changes to 2 because you made an innocent mistake, like, oh, actually it was kind of stuck together, it's actually 2, then you need to update that evidence, guys. And you need to let the defense team know, hey, by the way, this actually was 2 strands of hair. That's my fault in full discovery. You have to right the ship. You have to rectify if you made a mistake. The fact that law enforcement isn't doing that is a friggin' problem. Okay? The fact that her body was found 2 hours beyond where Scott was fishing, and you didn't even correct that on trial. You didn't even correct it for the court transcript. That is a problem. The issue I have with this case and all the other cases is law enforcement being sloppy, law enforcement not doing their jobs, and I'm not, you guys know, I back the blue. 100% I back them, but you know what? You got to do your damn job. You're getting paid a lot of money by taxpayers. Every one of you is taxpayers, and you're paying these salaries. Do your damn job. That is your job, okay? You get a statement, you write it down. You see things, you take pictures, you take videos. You got 2 strands of hair, you document 2 strands of hair. You don't say, oh, there's only 1, and then all of a sudden slip it out with 2 in the trial. And then never once said that was on us. There was 2 there, that was on. They never said it. They just acted like it never happened. They're like, no, we always did that. No, you didn't, because discovery goes back and forth, guys. So you guys know, discovery goes back and forth. Are you guys also aware that discovery also has to be confirmed by the opposing party? You guys know that? Anybody? Christine, I agree 100%. Do you guys know that discovery has to be confirmed by both parties? Okay, if you didn't know that, okay, if I were to give this, by the way, love DQ, just saying, no plug, how you doing, Dairy Queen? But if I were to give this bit of evidence to the defense can now go back to me and say, all right, I have one strand of hair, I have a boat, I have a rope, I have duct tape, I have 3 hairbrushes. Then they have to confirm all that. They don't just say, here you go, here's 72 boxes, have fun with it. No, they confirm it. They confirm what they have, which means, okay, or donuts. It could be donuts, yeah. But which means if they're conversing back and forth, that means that when the defense got that single strand of hair or knew about a single strand of hair, it was confirmed by the prosecution that it was just one strand of hair. So how the hell did it double? How did it mutate? How did that mutate? How did that hair become 2? Think about that. That's the problem I have with this case, is that honestly, guys, and I'm going to tell you something I haven't told any of you on a live yet. You guys ready for my own process theory? Or I would say process analysis. That's a good one. Feel free to take it. This is my process analysis. And I know I do this a lot and it pisses a lot of people off, but you know what? When we have 1,300 people or more on a Saturday live, when I could be out doing things and I choose to be here with all you guys, you got to have that support. So press that little follow button right here. I'm going to give you guys my process analysis. I think Christine's going to like this one, and all my law enforcement friends, you guys are going to like this one. But before we do that, you got to press that follow button right up here. That's the only way we're going to gain that support and keep growing as a group and as a community. You got to press that button. Here is my process analysis. I believe this case would have been cut and dry. I believe this case, done properly, still would have got a conviction. But the fact that the cops didn't do their job properly starts to taint the validity and the integrity of the case, of the court proceedings. This could have been cut and dry, case closed, no problem. But the fact that the police, and I'm not saying all of them did it, but the fact that the police involved here did what they did, you start to now question the whole integrity of the case. Now we have the Innocence Project involved. Are you guys aware? Everyone that thinks that I'm defending him, hopefully you guys know I'm not defending this guy. But you guys do know why. Okay, thanks, Vicky. How you been? Hopefully you guys know why the Innocence Project is involved. That's how they are. They get involved to see if people are wrongfully accused, and they only take on cases if they feel there's a strong possibility they are wrongfully accused. You guys know they wouldn't even be involved if the cops did their job. Do you guys know that? The cops wouldn't be, if the cops did their job, the Innocence Project would not be involved right now. It would not be involved at all. Because the cops would not have excised or omitted that witness that saw Lacey Peterson using the restroom at the warehouse. The cops would not have omitted the information about the witnesses on the street, the neighbors that said, no, the break-in actually happened on December 26th, not the 24th. But the fact that they omitted it shows police misconduct. That's another reason why the Innocence Project is involved. If the police corrected themselves and said, hey, she was found 2 hours from where Scott was fishing, and they did the right thing and corrected the record, then they're not going to be here. The Innocence Project isn't going to be here. Think about this. Think about this. The reason the Innocence Project is here is because the cops dropped the ball. What's up, Kim? The cops dropped the ball again. That's a problem. And you know they dropped the ball in all the other cases we talked about too. So would you, I can't even speak. So would you say it's more incompetence or corruption on law enforcement? One thing, Liz, is being prior law enforcement, I'll never say that, I don't really like to use the word corruption. I would just say it's lack of police work. I think it's laziness. They didn't want to put in that extra time, that extra effort to do the right thing, so they wanted it to kind of go away quickly, so they just got a little bit lazy. Maybe you can call it incompetent, maybe. But one thing, being prior law enforcement, I don't like the word corruption because I just feel like, it's a real negative connotation. But I would say the fact that they just didn't do their jobs properly, and I think they acted a little bit more lazy. I think that's probably the best way I would say it, Liz. So Like I said before, guys, this would have been a cut and dry case. Cut and dry. But the fact, hey, Meg, oh, Meg, I got to answer you too. I just saw it like this morning. I'm sorry, but I'll answer you. I saw your message. But the fact that this would have been a shut, closed case, no big deal. The fact that the cops didn't do their jobs properly and give all information now leads us to judge and be concerned about the overall integrity of this case. That's the problem. Guys, look, crime scenes and evidence and protocols and integrity starts on day one. What you do on day one. Okay? That is what matters. What you do on day one is how the rest of the investigation is going to go. Think of it like this: when you what's that phrase? Like when you meet someone for the first time, the initial impression. What's it called? You guys know what I'm saying? What's that phrase? Not the initial impression, but like, oh my God, I'm struggling over here, guys. But what I'm saying is like when you first meet somebody, not first impression. No, that's not it. No. You guys know what I'm trying to say. When you have that first impression, okay, if it's not good, it's probably not going to get better. But if that first impression is very good, it's most likely going to continue on that road or get better. It's typically how it goes. But if this investigation was not taken properly and they weren't going through it and doing their job properly, everything goes into question. And that's the issue that I have with this investigation. The fact is the LA Innocence Project is involved with this case, and I believe they should not have been involved if this was done the right way from the very beginning. And this was covered the right way from the very beginning. The fact that they're involved, hey Caitlin, the fact that they're involved means that there is some things that we don't know about. And that's a serious issue. And I've already given you guys 4 or 5 of them. Those are real serious issues. So, Annabelle, LA Innocence was probably paid to take it. We don't know that. Typically, those innocence projects are not, they don't really get paid to take on these cases. They just kind of go into it and do it on their own. And if they win, they talk about they may talk about a rate off record or something like that. But they don't typically get paid ahead of time. And if they are, we'll never find proof of that. So, anyways, does this make sense? Is everything I just kind of told you guys, does it make sense? He's been in jail for over 20 years. Does all this stuff make sense about the Innocence Project and why they're involved and the reason they're involved? I'm not defending this guy, but when the police did a sloppy and lazy job, makes you start wondering, well, how much of this is in question now? And that's why they're here. That's why they're here. Okay? I believe wholeheartedly this man is responsible for what happened. I do. But with the fact that the Innocence Project is involved out of LA, I just want to be very clear, the LA Innocence Project, the fact that they're involved and all the information I just showed you, this is Scott Peterson, guys. Now, one thing I want to say is before we wrap, I want to take about 5 minutes. I want to recap what we talked about. Because a lot of new people on here, and I think a lot of new people need to know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. So I want to do a brief recap. And so you guys know what we're saying. Just a recap of what we just talked about. This is Scott Peterson. That's it. Just kidding. So, guess it wasn't funny. Anyways, so this is Scott Peterson. Scott Peterson was charged and convicted of unaliving his pregnant wife, Lacey, and unborn child, Connor, back in 2004, I believe he was actually convicted of it. The trial lasted 4 or 5 years. She was last seen on December 24th, 2002. That was from what we were told, and he was convicted of the unaliving. Since then, the Innocence Project has gotten involved. The LA Innocence Project. Yes, it happened in 2002, but I believe he was convicted in 2004. She was found in April of 2003, which was about 4 months later. Now, the Innocence Project out of LA has taken over this case. Why? Because they found a few, especially I think it's 4 key elements that were never brought up in court or can prove that the cops and the DA did not act appropriately. Number 1, they found out that Detective Alan Brocchini left out information on purpose. He admitted that on the stand. He admitted under oath. It is on court transcripts. You guys can look it up. He excised the information about the witness that saw Scott and Lacey Peterson on December 23rd at the warehouse when she used the restroom. Why is that important? Because the prosecution said she didn't know about this boat. So if she didn't know about the boat, what was she doing at the warehouse where the boat was? So that was one thing. Second, a piece of hair. They found a single strand of hair in the boat, on the pliers in the boat. If you guys don't know, this is the evidence photo. This is a screenshot of the evidence photo right here. In this box is a single strand of hair. Here it is. You can see it. It looks like a sad face. See? That's your single strand of hair. If you're wondering what this thing is here, right above my finger, that little thing, it's one of those. It's like a needle and thread. They use that to secure the piece of hair. That's all that piece is. So again, single strand of hair. Okay? Now, what the Innocence Project realized was that that single strand of hair actually turned to 2 strands of hair in the trial. So, due to discovery and disclosure processes, the defense and prosecution share information. It's called discovery and disclosure. You have to give all your evidence. Well, they only got 1 strand of hair. However, 2 strands of hair was actually produced during the during the court hearing or the trial. That was another big thing. Number 3, there was a break-in, and it was reported in trial that it happened on December 24th, when in reality it actually happened December 26th, and witnesses and neighbors gave their statements to police, and police chose to exclude it out of their reports. They acted as if they never had these conversations when these witnesses came forward many years later and kept talking about it. Now, that is why the Innocence Project is involved. All of that misconduct, and there's more. But all of that misconduct, all the things that were omitted from police reports, that's why the Innocence Project is involved. I'm not defending this man. I'm just giving you the facts of the case. Summer 135. If I was a jury member here, I wouldn't be able to convict him. Yeah, some people wouldn't be able to convict him. Some wouldn't. I think if we look at circumstantial evidence and we understand it, it's hard for us to tie him to what actually happened. But, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence there. But just so you guys know, that is what I'm telling you. That is based on the information that we know from the LA Innocence Project. That is why they're involved. That is the most up-to-date information. And then the biggest one that I haven't told you yet, hopefully you guys are still with me. No, Kiera, the boat can tie him to fishing possibly, but not the unaliving. Because we don't know if she was ever on the boat. We don't know. The other big thing is where she was found. She was found 2 hours away from where Scott was fishing. However, in the court, during the court proceedings, they actually said that she was found the same area or location as Scott was fishing. That wasn't true. That wasn't true. You guys can look it up. Feel free to fact check me. It's literally all public knowledge. Okay? She wasn't found where he was fishing. She was found 2 hours north. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because all the cops had to do was explain that and say, we actually made a mistake. She was found 2 hours north. But they didn't correct any of the mistakes at all. Alan Brocchini should have put the information in his police report, but he admitted to excising it and removing it. The other officers never put in the information about the neighbors in their testimonies and their statements. They should have righted the ship and corrected the information, and they never did. That's why the Innocence Project is involved, and that is why we're talking about this right now. Fiona, do we think he will get a new trial? Personally, I don't know if he's going to get a new trial. If I had to choose yay or nay, I'd say yes. He was given full evidence in the Innocence Project, was given full evidence minus police reports. Personally, I really don't. He could. If I had to choose like a probability, I don't think it's 50-50. It's probably 51% that he will versus 49%. I don't think it's cut and dry. He's getting a new trial. But I do think there's going to be a discussion about police misconduct and police not doing their jobs. That's what I think is going to happen. He was already denied a new trial once because a juror lied on the juror form. But I don't know. I don't think he's going to get a new trial. I think if there's anything, they may adjust the conviction. But we don't know yet. We do not know yet. That's, it is what it is. What Innocence Project person bleaches his hair and is found fleeing with a bag full of money? So that is not a good look on on this. Like, that is not a good look on Scott. The fact that he was found with like 15 grand in cash, other people's IDs, I think it was his brother's, a firearm, his hair changed, whatever, and he was found by the Mexico border, not a good look. Not a good look. Okay? At all. Not a good look. But he did say, my life is always being threatened. And honestly, guys, there is legitimate proof of that his life was being threatened left and right. And he wasn't safe. I'm not saying that's, you know, that provides his innocence. I'm not saying that. But his life was threatened multiple times, and there is police documentations of that. So it's not just him. Hey, Chris, it's not just him just saying things. There was police documentation that his life was threatened multiple times. So again, I'm not saying, you know, he's lucky, you know, he was okay to flee. I'm not saying that. But his life was threatened. So, I mean, he can kind of collude with that story of, I was only trying to flee because, you know, because my life was being threatened. Also, I saw a lot of people asking questions about the DP, the unaliving penalty. So he was originally convicted of charge 1 for Lacey and charge 2 for unborn son Connor. And he was given the unaliving penalty. However, in 2021, that was reversed. The unaliving penalty is off the table. He's now doing 2 life sentences, no possibility of parole. So a lot of people are asking questions of like, will his sentence be changed? It could. If they realize there was a police cover-up or a police misconduct, there may be an adjustment to his trial, or to his conviction, yes, or to his sentence. Excuse me. It may be. And as Christine's saying here, she's a current New York PD police officer, so thank you for everything you do, Christine. And as you said, correct. I don't feel he's innocent, just like Christine says, but according to the evidence, he might walk. Yes, according to the evidence that I just gave you, where police omitted multiple bits of information, excluded testimony and statements from witnesses, lied saying that there was 1 hair follicle when there was 2, or vice versa. The fact that they said Lacey washed up where he was fishing versus 2 hours north, all of those lies put together, it leads us to believe that the Innocence Project might actually be successful in this case. Now, again, not saying, I mean, personally, I don't think he's going to just walk away. I think they'll just adjust the sentence. But here's the problem, guys. He's already done over 20 years. If the Innocence Project is as good as they typically are, they may say, look, maybe we don't give him life without parole. We maybe might give him time served. Or we might give him an additional 10 years. But if he has good behavior, he might get out sooner. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying he's going to walk away the next day. But they may they may actually add possibility of parole. They may just add that and be like, yeah, you got 2 life sentences, but you got the possibility of parole after 30 years. Well, he's already done over 20, so he's eligible for parole in less than 10 years. Like, that could be another stipulation. We don't know, guys. We really don't know. We don't know. We're just giving you the facts and how it works. And I don't know how old he is now. Isn't he like 50? Isn't he like 50? Isn't he like 50 years old? I don't know how old he is right now, by the way. I have no idea. I have no idea how old he is. I think he's like 50. I think he was like in his late 20s or something when it all happened, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, I think he's like 50. He never testified. He did say that he wished he did testify, but that's hindsight 2020. But either way, that's where we're at, guys. So again, I want to be clear before we hop off. I'm not defending the guy. But these are the facts of the case. He's 53. There you go. These are the facts of the case. We don't have to agree with them, but this is why the Innocence Project is involved. Because of those facts that I brought up. And guys, those facts that I just showed you are public knowledge. You guys can look them up. You guys can look at court transcripts. You can. Okay? You can. You can look that stuff up. Okay? So just so you guys know. Okay? I'm not making this stuff up. You can go look it up on your own. This is why the Innocence Project is involved. Now, does that mean that the Innocence Project is going to find him like innocent? No, that doesn't mean that. But they could find that there was some misconduct involved and maybe have a conversation about his maybe time served or his current sentence. We don't know. We don't know. But those are the big things, guys. And the last thing I want to say is this. Before we hop off, this is the last thing I want to say. Well, other than the thanking you, but this is the last thing I want to say. When it comes down to this whole thing. I always lead with facts. That's it. You might not like them. Hey, hell, I may not like all the facts of the case, but I always lead with facts. Facts that you guys can double check and you guys can look up. It's all public record. I always come with receipts so you guys can see it. Okay? Just like I showed you guys a piece of the hair. There's one single strand of hair, but yet there was 2 strands of hair brought up in court and they questioned that. So you got to think about this, guys. I'm not saying this guy is innocent, but let me ask you guys all a couple final questions. Does everybody disregard him? How about this? I'm going to actually change the picture behind me because I know you guys are going to keep looking at that picture and you guys are going to be like, oh my God. Yeah, I'll just put my own logo back there. Yeah, guys, these are my hats, by the way. Aren't they cool? Yeah. How you doing? Those are my hats. Let me ask you guys a question real quick before we hop off. Disregard Scott Peterson and anybody else. Does, in your opinion, guys, and yes, this is part of my merch. It's on my store. You guys can go buy them. They're really cool. You can get them for your husbands. It's really freaking cool. Look at that LG. I don't. Anyways, here's my question. Do you guys all agree that everybody deserves a fair trial? Yes or no? That everybody deserves a fair trial. Disregard the name. I'm talking about people in general. Do you guys all agree that everybody deserves a fair trial? Okay, here's my next question. Do you guys all agree that police should always do their job and do it in its entirety, not omit information and do everything they're supposed to do fairly? Do you guys all agree with that? That police should always do their job in its entirety and produce all of its information. Every one of you said yes on that question, and every one of you said yes on the previous question. Well, when it comes down to Scott Peterson, the police didn't do that. And you all just said everyone deserves a fair trial. And if police left out information and they omitted information on purpose, that's police misconduct. That's failure to do their job. Honestly, guys, the dude deserves a fair trial. I don't think he's innocent. I'll be completely honest. I don't think he's innocent. I don't. But everybody deserves a fair trial. And when they didn't do their job, and I want to be clear, guys, before we hop off, hopefully you guys like this. It's on my story. Go buy them. They're not even that expensive. Go buy them. Anyways, the last thing I want to say, guys, on this live, I'm going to go back to Scott Peterson so you guys can look at his beautiful friggin' mug. Real quick. Thanks, Amy. Real quick. Last thing I want to say regarding Scott Peterson on this live. Okay? Keep it simple. We already know that everybody deserves a fair trial. No matter what, everybody deserves a fair trial. Everybody. However, what I want to say is this. If you guys were on trial for anything, you'd want to make sure that the cops did their jobs properly. I'm not mad at Scott. I'm not. I'm mad at what he allegedly did, but I'm not mad about the conviction because of Scott. I'm mad at the police. If the police did their job, we wouldn't even be talking about this. We'd be talking about a completely different case. Okay? We're talking about this right now, and I got to bring this guy's mug up on my screen because the cops didn't do their job properly. That's why we're talking about it. So don't be mad at me. Be mad at them. Because not every cop is bad. I wasn't bad. Do I sound like I was bad? No, I was fair and firm. I wasn't a bad cop. I was fair and firm. And I believe you people that are responding to that are police officers are fair and firm. I believe that. Right? I believe that. Right? Not every cop is bad. But just know this. Just know this. They're unisex, Liz. They're unisex. Just know this. We wouldn't even be talking about this. We would not even be talking about this if the cops did their job. We wouldn't. I don't know if we ship to Canada, but you can always call. When you go onto the website to purchase the items, you can always call. They may say, depending on where you are, they could probably look it up and say, yes, I would have to charge you a little extra for shipping. I have a team that does all that, so you can always call the merch site when you guys click on the link. So guys, I'm going to hop off. I appreciate this Saturday live. Before we do, press that follow button. There's 1,200 of you guys. Press that little follow button. It's right above my squash, right above my head. I appreciate every single one of you. All of the followers, all the taps, all the reshares, all the gifts that you guys send me. I'm terrible at thanking you guys in real time, mainly because there's over 1,000 of you at any given point. It is so difficult for me to thank you guys in real time. But I appreciate every single one of you. All the followers, guys. Welcome to the Grind Gang. I'm really, really excited to have a bunch of new people on here. I love having these conversations. The other cases that we work actively is not just Scott Peterson, but also Jonbenet Ramsey. We go back and forth with Jonbenet and Scott Peterson over the last few days. Those are the big cases. And also Amy Bradley. That's another big case that we're working, okay? Now, before I hop off, you guys want a quick encore? I don't ever really do this, but you guys want a quick encore? If you guys got like an extra 15 minutes, we'll do an encore. Let's see. All right, how about this? If we can get another 25 people to press that little follow button, we'll do an encore, and I'll count them live. We'll do another 15 minutes. If we get 25 more people to press that little follow button, and I'll count them live. We just got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're at 11. Come on, guys. Got 30 more seconds. 12, 13. Guys, you got to press that follow button if you want that encore. 1, 2, boom, 1, 2. We're at 18, 19. We're at 19. We're almost there. Guys, got 10 more seconds. I've actually never done it like this before. I think it's pretty cool. We're at 21. Where you guys at? 22, 23, 24. Boom, 25. Well, I'm a man of my word. 15 more minutes. Here we go. We're going to change this. We're going to change this background because I know you guys don't really want to look at him anymore. And we're going to go into our favorite. And I'm going to go right into towards the ending of it. And we're going to go right into Jonbenet. Here's the reason why I'm going into Jonbenet. I found out some pretty interesting information about the layout of the house. The layout that nobody is talking about. And all you guys that just pressed that follow button just to hear me for another 15 minutes, I appreciate you. My own wife don't even want to hear me for an extra 15 minutes. This is great. Anyways, appreciate you guys. Let's go into this, but I want to go into the very ending of this case. Here it is. How many of you guys knew that the crawl space was never, ever searched on day one? How many of you guys knew? Without hearing it from me, how many of you guys knew about the crawl space that was never, ever searched on day one? Never searched. Because if you go back and you look at the police records and you also look at the police reports, it was never actually searched. The only thing that was searched was the main basement and the room that she was found when they reached the door and they never entered the door. Well, do you guys know the size of the crawl space? Oh yeah, more. Christine, you want to talk about sloppy police work? You and I will talk for the next 7 days. You want to talk about sloppy police work with this thing. Do you guys know how big that crawl space is? I'm assuming you guys want to see it. Okay, I'll show you. Stand by. I don't. There it is. Just so you guys know, this is the room she was found in. This is the wine cellar room. Right here, right above my finger. That's the wine cellar room. That's where she was found. Now, look at the size of these two crawl spaces. It's like 4 of these rooms. Look at the size of it. Look at the size of these crawl spaces. It's like 4 of these. Now, to be fair, this first crawl space is probably like you can enter and you probably have to it's probably like 4 feet high. You probably have to do this and walk around. This smaller crawl space here is probably a legitimate crawl space. Like you literally have to crawl. That's what this room most likely is. I can tell by just the way the shape of it is. This one back here is most likely a legitimate crawl space where you have to get on your hands and knees and really slither your way through. When I worked in HVAC and I was selling HVAC sales, I had to crawl in these crawl spaces. They were dirty. There was spider webs. There was insulation. It was gross, whatever. But this space is not the same. This space is a little bit bigger. They never checked this space. Never. Now, I'm going to prove that. How many of you guys remember John Ramsey saying, I did a sweep of the basement. I went into the train room. She wasn't there. Then I reached the wine cellar room. I opened the door, and there she was. How many of you guys remember John Ramsey bringing that up during his interrogations, during the Dr. Phil interviews? He said, I did a sweep of the basement. I looked at the train room, and then I reached the wine cellar. I opened the door, and I found her. Did anybody ever hear anybody say, police, John Ramsey, Fleet White, Patsy, did anybody ever talk about the crawl space? Did anybody talk about the crawl space? Not a single freaking person talked about the crawl space. When you walk in, here's the entrance to the train room. If you look straight, you can see the freaking door. You can see the door to the crawl space. You don't open the door? You don't open the door? You can see it when you enter the room. They never even open the door, guys. It's a huge crawl space, and they never looked. They never looked for it or looked in it. That's a serious problem. Now, this is the stairs. So what they said was that she was dragged to the wine cellar. Have you guys heard that? That she was dragged to the wine cellar? Have you guys heard that? Like, that's the only way that she got there. She was dragged there. All right, so if you guys didn't know that, that's what they said. They said she was ultimately dragged there because her hands were above her head. So if she's brought down the stairs, it's easy to military drag through here, through the boiler room, right in here. Versus the crawl space where you have to kind of bend over to get her into that space. This would have made more sense. Now, that's what the basement looks like. Now, guys, how were her hands when she was found? Do you guys know? How were her hands when she was found? Let's see if you guys know. I love it. Caitlin said up. Sherry said above her head. I see tied. I see Amanda Panda saying above her head. Above her head. Laura says above her head. Hey, guess what? We don't know. Because John Ramsey picked her up and brought her upstairs. We don't know how she was found. And Christine, if you're still on, any other cops, you guys will know this. We don't know how it was found because John Ramsey, the father, picked her up and brought her upstairs. We don't know how her arms were originally found, guys. We don't know. Because if a cop found her in that room, they would have taken pictures of it. And then we would have known how her arms were. They were found up here. We don't know that. Because she was found by her dad. So we don't know how her arms were found. Now, were her eyes open or closed when she was found, guys? Was her eyes opened or closed when she was found, guys? And rigor mortis did set in for a little bit. Yes, they did notice that rigor mortis was set in. Were her eyes open or closed when she was found? I love that. Her eyes were found closed. How do you know? Because yet again, John Ramsey was the one that discovered her in the basement. And he said she looked like she was sleeping. But we don't have police evidence to confirm that her eyes were open or closed when she was found because she was found by her father. So again, we don't know. Now, Christine asked a minute ago, why did he do that? Well, Christine, I think you just found me again today. Well, there was only one cop in the house. Her name was Linda Arndt, okay? And Linda Arndt was the detective. She sent John Ramsey, which is the father, and the best friend, Fleet White, and she said, and I quote, "Go look around and see if anything is out of place, and then let me know." So yes, she sent the dad and the best friend out and about to go look around and see if they could see anything, quote unquote, out of place. When they went down into the basement, that's when they found her in that wine cellar. And then he just, swooped her up and brought her upstairs. Okay? That is completely against police protocol because, number one, it's a 7,000 square foot house. He's the father of the girl that's missing or unalived. He's got to be a person of interest right off the bat. Fleet White was the one that owned the house where the party was the night before that she was at. That's another person of interest. They've never been cleared as suspects. Why are you letting them walk around a house that you know John Ramsey is going to be familiar with? That's his house. He's going to be very familiar with that house. He knows every nook and cranny of that house. You don't let the father just walk around. You say, wait here until backup comes and I'll walk around with you. I just got to wait for other officers to get here. That's essentially what you would say. That's what you would do. So we don't know how her eyes were when they were found, and we don't know how her hands were when they were found. We don't know any of that because the dad picked her up, swooped her up, and brought her upstairs. Julie asked, why are her eyes important? Her eyes were important because if she was found, so one of the COD, cause of the unaliving, was asphyxiation, where something was around here. It's called a garrote or garrote, however it's worded, and it was pulled tight and she lost consciousness. When that happens, your eyes are typically bulging out and open. However, if her eyes were found closed, that means when this was put around here, she was already gone because she was already out. But if her eyes were open, that means that was the COD, the cause of you know what. But again, if her eyes were closed, we now need to know, Were they closed by John Ramsey? Did he close them? Did the person who's responsible, did they close them? We don't know. So that's why the eyes are important. Now, guys, it all goes to the integrity of the crime scene. And I don't know if a lot of people understand that, but the integrity of the crime scene cannot be manipulated or tainted. A cop should have been down there to discover her. They would have taken pictures, would have taken videos, they would have done all this analysis, and they could have looked into things. The fact that she was brought upstairs means the crime scene has been manipulated and tainted and contaminated. And he moved the crime scene to a completely different location. Well, the crime scene stays the same, but he moves the body to a completely different location. Now you've contaminated that crime scene. You've touched her, you put a sheet on her that has other people's DNA all over her, and then you relocate her to a different location. That's contamination of a crime scene. You can't do that. So that's why knowing what her eyes looked like at the time is extremely important. The female cop that was on scene first was a rookie. Yes, that was Linda Arndt, but she wasn't a rookie. She was new in the detective space. And she wasn't like used to these kinds of cases. She dealt with other cases. But she wasn't necessarily a rookie. She was a new detective. You can't be a rookie detective. You have to be on the force for X amount of years first. You gotta take a test to become a detective. But she was new in the detective role for sure, yes. And she was left by herself. There was 3 cops that were there, and 2 cops left for an internal meeting, which in my opinion, where are you going? Where are you going? Like, you're leaving your partner by herself, who's not comfortable there, in a 7,000 square foot house with no other police officers. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. The official COD, again, or cause of unaliving, was, I can't say the word on TikTok, but it's when something's pulled very tightly in this area. You know what that is? And then blunt force trauma, because she had a big dent in her head. But that's all they said. That's all they said. Was there signs of a struggle or defensive wound? They did find skin cells under her fingernails, which would imply defensive wounds. Yeah, and we just can't say it on TikTok. Which would imply defensive wounds. There was some abrasions as well that could also go to defensive wounds. But they're giving the time of the unaliving like between 10 p.m. on Christmas Day and 6 a.m. The day after Christmas. So it's a huge, huge window. You said the other day, 2026 will produce the person who did it. Why do you think that? So the reason I believe 2026 will be when we get the answers is because of that new police chief. That new police chief is out. He was externally hired, so he doesn't have any political connections between the DA and Boulder Police. He's a completely fresh set of eyes. He's also big into social media and updated technology. So based on what he's looking at and re-examining old evidence, I believe that this is going to happen in 2026. We are moving in the right direction there. I will tell you this, everyone that was exonerated due to DNA evidence in the past, if you guys remember, there was a whole lot of people that were exonerated from DNA evidence and DNA testing. Well, now that they found out that a lot of the DNA was contaminated and they're going to retest all the DNA, that means everyone's back on the table. Everybody's back on the table now. That means everyone that was like, oh, no, they were cleared. They're no longer cleared. The fact that they're retesting DNA means you are no longer cleared. They're going to start to retest it, and that means you are back on that table. That's what that means. That's what that means. Guys, before we got a few more minutes left. There's 1,400 of you. You guys got to press that little follow button. It's right above my squash. We're only going to do a few more minutes on this live. But again, right above this squash, guys, press that little follow button. We need that support because Jonbenet, she would have been, 35, I believe she would have been now. And she doesn't have a voice. She doesn't have a voice. She can't say what happened. She has no justice for her. Nothing. We have no person of interest, people of interest. We have no suspects, no indictments, no charges, no convictions. Nothing. So the only way we're going to be able to get that is if we keep doing this. Guys, like I said all the time, there's people listening to these lives and watching these lives. People in the investigation teams, they have people watching all this stuff in social media. We're getting closer to these answers. The only way we're going to get even closer if you guys keep supporting that channel and pressing that follow button and tagging me and stuff and letting me see what's going on and helping me push that information out there. Who do you think wrote the note? Yeah, I don't think Patsy wrote the note. I know that goes against popular belief. I don't believe Patsy wrote the note. I believe somebody else wrote that note. And I also believe that note was a distraction. That was the longest note ever written in history. Longest ransom note, ever written on this Jonbenet Ramsey case. The last one, say Kim. Longest one written in history. And also, nothing ever happened in that note that was written down. They never got the money. They never called. They never returned her like they said they were going to return her. They said they were going to harm her in a specific way. They didn't do that. And they returned her, like I said, without the money. They did nothing in that ransom note that they wrote down. I believe that ransom note was just kind of put together. I think the original thought was going to be a kidnapping. So, Scarlett, this is me kind of answering you there. I think the original plan was to make it look like a kidnapping. And then they realized that it wasn't going to be that. And I think they just kind of, I think they probably were going to grab that note and leave with it, but they didn't. And I think that note was just irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. I don't believe it was Patsy who wrote the note. I do know that some of her letters matched up. I get that. But that's just circumstantial evidence because no one can say Patsy wrote it. No one can say they saw her write it. No one can say that they have it on camera that she wrote it. Nothing. It's all circumstantial evidence. You have some investigators say it matches up to some of her writing, and then you have other investigators that said no. So it's all based off opinion. Do you think the brother did it and the parents covered it up for him? Absolutely not. I think people are giving Burke a lot of credit. The kid was 9 years old. There's no way he's going to be able to evade state, local, and federal law enforcement authorities for 29 years and then not say a word to anybody, not spill the beans to somebody. Someone would have talked by now. Someone would have said something by now, especially him. He would have said something to someone, and that's never happened. I also don't think Patsy ever showed any satanic or devious sides to her. I don't think that Burke started it and then Jonbenet's mother goes, oh, we need to finish her now. I just don't see that. I think the big thing is people keep looking at Burke as being responsible. I kind of think that it was made out to be that way on purpose, and that's a scapegoat. It's like something happened here and no one's paying attention here. Everyone's looking at Burke, but no one's doing any investigations back here. And I believe that's what it was. I believe it was someone that was close by, someone that knew Jonbenet Ramsey, someone that Jonbenet was close with, someone that knew that house and knew the layout, knew where her bedroom was, and was comfortable to write a 20-minute, 3-page ransom note in the house. So to me, that's someone that's comfortable, someone that's been there before, and I'll end the live, guys, on this. I believe the person or people responsible were in the house that morning. Now, for all of you that don't know, there was over 30 people in and out of that house that morning. It was all the friends and family. Well, it was almost 3 pages. It was 2 3/4 pages. There was over 30 people in and out of the house that morning. And police admitted it. They said, we thought it was a legitimate kidnapping. We thought that was the family support group, their friends and family. So we didn't want to say no. But in reality, they should not have had them come into the house. And if they were, they should have documented them. They should have logged them in and out, got their contact information, then logged when they left. But they didn't do it. I believe the person responsible was in the house that morning, walking around, just kind of, acting like, oh my God, I'm so sorry for what happened. But I believe that person was hiding right in plain sight. Last question I'm going to answer, guys, on this live. Mary Charmed, you said, did John ever say what made him look in that room? No, he just said that he was just doing a sweep and looking around, and he got to that door and he just opened it up, and there she was. If you guys didn't know, I brought this up on previous lives, that a cop, his name is Officer French, his first name is Rick, I was able to finally confirm that. Officer Rick French got to that door in the basement and never opened it. Never opened it. He said that the door was latched closed. He was looking for a means outside of the house, and since that door opened inward, he said, I never opened it as it was latched closed. Before we hop off this live, do you guys want to see that police report? Do you guys want to see that police report before we hop off that live, or this live, where the cop physically brings up the fact that he reached the door but never opened it? All right, a lot more yeses than I thought. Okay, stand by. It's amazing how some creators don't provide receipts. I don't understand that. Provide receipts. Don't just talk. I believe it's right here. Yes. So I'm going to read it to you guys by Officer French. If you guys look right here, you'll see the case number. Feel free to screenshot it if you want to. If you notice it right here, you guys can just Google it. You can Google the case number and you'll get access to this. This is the original police report. Now, between times of consulting with detectives and the family, I walked through the lower level of the house and the garage. Looking for obvious evidence, although somewhat messy due to the seasons, the residence did not look out of order. In the basement, I attempted to open the door leading to the area where Jonbenet was ultimately found, but it was secured by a wooden latch above the door. The door opened inward, and I was looking for access outside of the house. Since the door could not have been used for that purpose and it was latched closed, I did not open it. There's your police report by Officer French. When he was doing that sweep around the house, he said, well, I just never opened it. Well, Officer French also never once brought up the crawl space, which is what we started talking about when we started talking about Jonbenet. He never talked about the crawl space. He talked about walking around the house, talked about certain areas, but never talked about the crawl space, and he never opened that door. My honest opinion to all you guys is this. This never happened in that little wine cellar room. This happened in a completely This happened in a completely different room in the basement, and she was relocated to that room. Okay, somebody's not going to put her in there, shut the door, and lock it and exit the home like an intruder, like they originally said. It's not going to happen. That takes too much time. You're not going to wrap her up in a blanket, make sure she's there, and then shut the door, latch it up high, and then exit the home undetected. It's not going to happen. This happened inside the house. She was relocated to a completely different location, and I believe that crawl space is the area that she was before she was moved to that wine cellar. And the problem is the cops never secured the scene. They never searched the entire house to confirm, hey, there's nothing in the crawl space, or hey, there's nothing in the wine cellar room. You're supposed to check every single room. They didn't do it. That means they did not perform a complete search and clearance of that location, of that crime scene. That is why we're still talking about it. But guys, I appreciate all of you. I appreciate all the taps, the likes, the shares, all the new followers, guys. Welcome back to the Grind Gang. If you guys are finding me again, like some of you have, again, my old account was hacked, so unfollow that account and follow it here. Greatly appreciate. I have no access to that old account, but I do appreciate you guys. And again, welcome to the Grind Gang, as we call it. Keep tagging me in things. Keep commenting on the videos. Let me know what you guys think. We work a bunch of cases, as you can see, and that's just what we do. That's just what we do. But I appreciate every guys. Take a look at the podcast. Take a listen. Do a quick little download on there. There's other platforms as well. You guys will see those platforms. You guys will see what else? You guys will see YouTube, the podcast, all the merch. Everything is out there. It's all over my story, so you guys can click on it and take a look at it. Let me know what you guys think. Have a great rest of your Saturday, guys, and enjoy your weekend. Bye.